Facing an uncertain AI future, many fear a world where jobs vanish and technology reigns and Skynet becomes a reality. But what if, just what if, AI is the key to unlocking unprecedented growth and opportunity? Today we welcome Peter Pilarski, a digital marketing strategist and emerging AI leader, to share his expert insights on the impact AI is having on business. Stay tuned. Hey, Peter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Excellent. And so, Peter, with AI's growing influence in every facet of our lives, there's a mix of anticipation and some apprehension. From your perspective, who stands to gain the most from this AI revolution, and who should be really gearing up for the big changes it's going to bring?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, Greg, and thanks for asking it. I mean, really, in terms of who stands to gain the most here, anybody who embraces this technology stands to gain from this technology, and I say that because AI is really an augmentation technology, which means it can help us. Much like glasses help people see, AI can help people with the thinking process. It sort of can augment thinking and augment strategy and augment execution of tasks. So, really anybody who embraces it early and now has the opportunity to augment some of the thinking in their business and to help speed up and improve some processes and things like that. So, I mean, it's a very easy to use technology as opposed to other technologies that we've seen in the past. And so, it really democratizes the use of technology. It makes technology very accessible, because basically what you're doing is going from before having to use coding to use technology, computers, and those types of things, to now being able to use natural language to be able to get technology to do things for you. So it really is a great enabler for pretty much anybody who decides to use it.
Okay. So, and who should be concerned? Who should be afraid of this technology?
Well, same answer to the question. So we should all be a little bit afraid of this technology. I sometimes give presentations on AI, and I talk about there's, two types of sort of extremes when it comes to this world. There are the people who are pushing AI at all costs, and the people who are warning about the, existential threats to humanity. And most of us fall somewhere in between. And I consider myself an AI pragmatist and just a practical person, seeing the fact that this technological wave is coming. But at the same time, I'm also concerned about some of the implications that it will have on many aspects of society. I mean, this is a society-changing technology. It's going to impact every single human really on the planet eventually. And so all of us have something to gain, and all of us should be concerned as well with some of the implications.
Yeah, it really is a tsunami of change that is about to hit us all. And, you can either be, riding the wave or getting tossed up and drowned and tossed with it, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I'm pragmatic about it as well. I've got a real healthy skepticism and concern about the technology being in the wrong hands, such as a corrupt government trying to control. So those are some concerns, but again, we just need to be aware of it and prepared to fight against any injustices that we see happening.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's why everybody, I had an interesting post on my LinkedIn the other day where somebody said, the reason people aren't embracing this is because they have a lot of apprehension, they have fears, and they have all these things. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very valid concern that somebody raised. But my counter to that is, you know what, then you should get engaged in this, and you should get educated so that you can be part of the dialogue and you can be part of the conversation. You can have conversations with your colleagues, your company, your politicians, whatever way you want to engage on this. But, it's incumbent upon all of us to get educated, to understand this stuff so that we can have a more informed conversation as a society, right?
Yeah, well said. Okay, well, so listen, the show is Top Dog Tips. And I do ask our guests to come in with some practical, actionable tips regarding, some of your services. So what kind of tips would you have for businesses looking to adopt AI?
Yeah, so I have some very easy to start with tips. There are many things that companies should and could do, but I think the very easy to start with tips are number one, as a company, you need to develop a belief system around AI for your company, and you need to communicate that belief system. So whether that's development of responsible AI use policies and principles, or even just a statement about here's where we stand on AI. It's interesting because there's more and more statistics coming out that employees are using artificial intelligence, and many of those employees are using them whether they have permission or not, whether they have permission to use those specific tools or not, whether they understand the implications of using that technology or not. So it's incumbent upon every company to develop a set of policies and principles as a primary step around how AI could be used, should be used, who can use it, what are the ramifications, what limits are there for use. Because in the absence of information and policies, employees are just going to start using it, and there could be big consequences for companies if they do the wrong thing.
Absolutely, it very definitely can be a free for all, and it's employees are going to use it, people are going to use it. To your point, it's best to get out in front of it and lay out some rules of engagement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
what would be another tip from you, Peter?
Yeah. So another tip for me is, once you've developed some AI policies and principles, or at least had some conversations with your team about it, the next step would be to develop some kind of AI council or working group or set of people, a group of people in your organization who are going to be having this conversation a little bit more regularly. So obviously, this is new technology that's changing, that's evolving. There's a lot happening in this space. So, your company needs to stay on top of it, and you need to have some kind of structured approach to have conversations and carry the conversation forward, keep adapting those policies with adapting changes in the technology. Again, understand use cases, understand where it might be able to help, where it might be able, where it might cause problems, and just have open, transparent conversations about what this is going to mean for your company on a regular basis.
I like that idea. Is again, not everybody's going to be enamored with AI. Not everybody's going to be focused on the little details of it, but identify the people in your company that are leaning towards, give them the responsibility to take it on. Let everybody else go about their day-to-day business and focus on your business. Let the specialists be specialists.
That's right. Tip. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the third tip I would give all businesses really is to start to think about education and training around AI. At the very minimum, an intro to AI. What is AI? Have everybody have a common level of understanding of exactly what this technology is, what it isn't, where the limitations are. Because again, I think that many people have many preconceived notions about this and what it means. And, there's a lot in the media we hear about it. And so I always like to, as a communicator and as a person who runs a marketing communications agency, have a common level of understanding as a starting point from which you can proceed, right? And so, having some education and training, having some workshops, having sort of an understanding across your organization will allow you to have better conversations then as an organization on how to actually have this, how to move this forward or not in your organization if that's what you decide to do.
Another great tip is to make sure everybody's speaking the same language, same definitions, and the communication becomes clear. So
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit of a flip side. Well, those are great tips, but what are some of the gotchas? What are some of the things that we should really be concerned about regarding the technology and some of the service providers out there?
There are a lot of issues related to AI that companies need to be thinking about and concerned about. And I think the number one starting point is for companies just to really understand issues related to copyright and intellectual property, because right now there's not a lot of clarity in the law. Well, there is some clarity in the law, in fact, that works created by a computer or a machine actually may not be subject to intellectual property laws and copyright protection. So, number one is understand that what you're outputting with these as an organization, what are the legal implications of it? Now, that law is a little bit complicated and it's going to get worked out, I think, because what is created by a machine mean that there's a lot of broadness in that kind of definition. But that's a really important starting point. The number two thing that companies need to really be thinking about is the fact that what information are they putting into these tools? Because that information may become part of the tool's training model, training data later in the future if they're not careful. So each AI technology or company has a legal contract that you sort of sign on to, whether you know it or not, when you decide to use the technology. And it spells out there protection of your information or not. And so sometimes on a free model, your information is not protected, but on a paid model, it is. And you really need to understand the technology you're using and the rules by which that technology provider functions in order to make sure that you're not putting in information that you don't want the world to know about your company that's proprietary. So I'd say those are two really big pitfalls. There are definitely many more, but those are sort of the two that, come up fairly often and that I think get legal people quite excited when it comes to artificial intelligence.
I was just going to say, I smell a whole new legal practice coming on.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are salivating around, getting their mitts into some great cases. So
totally, yeah. No,
stay tuned. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of legal casework that's going to have to come out, like any new technology, right? That is going to have to work itself out, and that takes time, right? Our legal process takes time, and so companies do need to approach this cautiously and really thoughtfully, methodically, in order to make sure they're not making big mistakes that are going to cost them.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So then, in order for me to be a better consumer of AI services, what should I know or what should I have to be prepared before approaching a potential AI service provider?
Yeah, there's a lot of hype in this space and there's a lot of promise in this space. And, as a guy like me who is literally consuming every piece of content I can possibly consume about AI and what's new and all these things, I go and I test and try a bunch of things. And in many cases, there's a lot of promise, but the tools actually can't do everything yet that is being promised. This is a fast evolving space, but there's a lot of hype. I think before even thinking about the tools to use, companies need to take a step back and start talking about either problems they want to solve or use cases they think that this technology could help with. I think that the tool conversation should be a later conversation in terms of which tool can solve my problem and how does that tool actually sort of fit within my current tech stack. Because the example I like to give often is there are currently thousands of AI sort of technologies and apps and little gadgets and gadgets and all these things that do these specialized things out in the market right now. It's a very busy space. But Google, as an example, is actively rolling out its own AI across all Google tools and platforms and suites and everything else. So in a matter of 3 months from now, Google may replace 80% of those tools, right? So I think really it's starting to understand your own technology stack. Who are the service providers you're using? What is their AI roadmap? And how does, what are they rolling out over a little while? And how does that fit in with your needs as an organization with respect to how AI might be able to help you? So I think that, and the other thing I'll say too is if you're selecting tools and playing and just testing and experimenting, just get the 1 month at a time version instead of paying for the year up front to save the 20% or whatever. Because at this point, we're in this we're very early and there's a lot of experimentation going on, which is great. And I encourage companies to experiment, but don't, go into long-term commitments, not knowing what the ins and outs of the tools are and whether that tool might be replaced by your own technology that you already pay for.
Well, that's a good point. The other point I would bring up, there's a lot of new AI companies that have popped up and they show promise, but if they get wiped out, what happens to the company? What happens to your investment? What happens to your data? So there's a few again, gotchas and things to be aware of, I've seen, right?
Yeah. We're very, very, very early in this. And so I think the book hasn't been written on, who are the major providers of AI technology and what are the tools and all those kinds of things. So I just think that companies need to approach things fairly cautiously for now. But I do encourage experimentation and trying things, but just on limited, low risk basis is what I would recommend to people.
Okay. Cool. I typically ask for a customer success story. And again, we're early days, but I understand there's some very progressive, bright, smart business operators that are looking to embrace AI, specifically in the tourism space. So do you have any that come to mind?
Thanks for that one, Greg. So I am working with a very smart savvy. Yeah, that's right. Tourism provider, which is Eagle Nook Resort, which Greg, actually, as you know, you are a partner in that organization. So I'm working with Greg and his partner, I should say, on really kind of trying to figure out how artificial intelligence can be applied in this all-inclusive sport fishing, basically all-inclusive fishing resorts, so tourism operator. And really what we're doing is, we're sort of early stages. So we've done a couple things. So we have something called an artificial intelligence business assessment. So we've gone through the process of assessing the organization and the leadership's sort of ideas around how artificial intelligence might be able to help the organization. We've developed some reports and some documentation related to that. We found some problems that AI could potentially solve and some use cases where AI might be able to help streamline some things and make things more effective and efficient. And really, in the new year, we're going to be sitting down and rolling up our sleeves and diving deeper into basically Eagle Nook's processes to understand exactly specifically where the AI technology can come in. Because really, if you think about artificial intelligence from a business process perspective and improving business perspective, the tools are going to come in at certain times in certain parts of processes to automate and make better and smarter certain parts of that process. So, step number one we have to do is outline the process in a lot of detail to understand where the tools can be inserted in to help basically solve the problem that in this case, Eagle Nook Resort is trying to solve.
Speaking on behalf of my partners, we're pretty excited about this initiative and this case study. Again, we're curious about AI, how it can help us, and we're very hopeful that it's going to come in and help us with some long-standing challenges that we've had around, complex scheduling where we're running across 7 different spreadsheets and, have a lot of different inputs. So got a bit of a mature process, which is easy to identify. So again, what comes out of it is going to be the good, the bad, the ugly. We're really going to find out where is it going to apply, where can it be practical, is it going to be cost effective to utilize AI or just go ahead doing what we're doing? So again, You know what? It's we're very excited about this whole opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's great. And again, I think that, the Eagle Nook Resort example just provides us a good case study, for lack of better terms, on really being systematic about this. Not just sort of flying in and starting to do AI, but actually taking a step back and saying, okay, what problems do we want to solve? What use cases can we apply this to? What are the challenges? Really thinking it through in a lot of detail so that when we go in and we actually start, making recommendations on tools and technologies and implementations, that they make sense in context of the business goals and the business pain points. Because fundamentally, that's where business is going to thrive when AI can help achieve those goals.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, flip gears a little bit. This is the part of the interview where we get to delve into the world of Peter Pilarski. So, Peter, who are you? Why do you do what you do? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I guess I'm, I've been working for in and around 20 years. I have a background in government relations, communications, and marketing. Most of my career has been spent either in government, lobbying government, doing public relations campaigns for industry associations and others. And then about 8 years ago, my wife and I started this company, CIPR Communications, because we saw how marketing and communications agencies functioned from being on the other side of the table and thought that we could do it a different way. And so, really, for me, it's all about transparency. That's what I'm all about. I think that good, solid business relationships are founded based on trust and transparency. And, amazing things can happen when people can trust each other very quickly and start to have real conversations about moving things forward. So, in terms of what gets me up in the morning, it really is those relationships that we have with our clients, our best clients, where we can solve real problems and we can really help them move the needle on things that they're trying to move the needle on, right? Really, as an organization, as a person, I'm fundamentally a very process-oriented person. So really starting with, again, those business goals and what you're trying to accomplish and the pain points, and then having, real conversations based on data and information, a lot of transparency about your organization, how we can help, whether we can help or not, who else can help, all those types of things, ultimately to move your business forward. So, I think if I could sum up what I'm all about, that would be it.
That's good. I've known you for quite a while, and I will have to comment that the best part about CIPR Communications is actually your wife, Christina.
Yes.
She is a rock star, and keeps you grounded. I know we feed off each other. We get going. We get all excited, and I know you have to bring it to Christina and say, "What are you guys thinking?" So, just a shout out to Christina. Hi.
Yeah, and I'd say on that note too, Greg, that what we pride ourselves in as an organization is being a strategy first organization. And that is exactly to the point of what you just said about Christina, right? Fundamentally, I'm the sales guy, I'm the visionary, I'm the guy that's sort of driving the direction of the company. But, fundamentally, if I could sell one thing for us and for our clients to be successful, it's a strategy first, because that allows us to have that discussion where everybody has a common level of understanding about all the factors that go into being successful into solving those business problems that you want to solve, the costs associated, right? The effort, the time it's going to take, right? All of that comes out in the development of a really comprehensive data-driven strategy, right? So if we do that, if all I have to do is sell strategy, then one, Christina, my wife, won't be pissed off about some weird thing I sold that doesn't make sense for anybody. And two, her and the execution team can really dive deep with the client, understand the client, get to know the client, and actually we can then propose services that will actually solve the problems that the business is trying to solve. So I think it works for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. So CIPR Communications, again, you're a digital marketing strategy first PR company, but you got some other things cooking. Why don't you share with our audience about who CIPR Communications is?
Yeah, sure. So CIPR Communications, as mentioned, it's a company that was started by my wife, Christina, and I about 8 years ago. Really, we were started as a PR agency, really got into digital marketing and website development. Interestingly, in 2024, I'm bringing those things together more than ever before and really focusing my approach to digital public relations, because fundamentally that's what we're good at and that's what we do. Also just this December, we also launched the Tourism AI Network. CIPR Communications is fairly heavily focused on the tourism industry. So we work with destination marketing organizations. We work with tourism operators such as Eagle Nook Resort. And then in addition to that, our third persona would be service-based companies. So, companies that provide services, either business to consumer, business to business. Because when it comes to digital public relations, really all of those categories are quite similar. So anyways, and then we launched the Tourism AI Network just this December to really focus in on the tourism industry and helping to enable the tourism industry with respect to the adoption of intelligence technology. So I'm really excited about that. If you want to, one thing that gets me up in the morning, it's thinking about how we can crack this AI thing with our tourism partners long term. And so the Tourism AI Network's really been set up to help us do that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Again, the tourism industry has been hard hit coming out of the pandemic. We got labor shortages. There's some real things that I'm really embracing. I'm hoping that AI can address and really help. And I think it is. People like yourself, leaders like yourself, embracing this. I think you're quickly become a champion of the industry. So cool.
Yeah. And if I can comment on that, Greg, an interesting thing that a lot of people talk about when it comes to artificial intelligence technology is all of the jobs it's going to replace or displace. But in fact, industries like tourism, there are so many labor shortages that many tourism operations are actually running not even fully open because they can't find the people to do the work. It's not always just jobs are going to be replaced. How about if it's just it allows tourism operators to actually operate fully, because maybe it'll, help with some things and allow those operators to focus more of their staff time towards serving the customer and providing great tourism experiences, right? Sort of an interesting opportunity, I think, for the tourism sector actually to embrace this to solve a workforce shortage issue.
Yeah, 100%. Wherever you challenge, there's an opportunity. So
that's right.
We'll embrace it. So, okay. So is there anything you can leave our guests with today? What would you like them to do next in terms of getting a hold of you, or how can they start to engage your services?
Yeah. So I think the best way to get in touch with me is just to send me an email, Peter at CIPR Communications.com. A really easy guy to get a hold of. I respond to emails as quickly as possible always. And really, I mean, the best place to get started if you're looking at artificial intelligence is probably an artificial intelligence business assessment to really start to dive deep into how it might be able to help you with a structured format. If you want to get started in more on the digital marketing PR side, strategy first with respect to digital marketing and PR is the way to go there. So yeah, if you send me an email, Peter at CIPR Communications.com, I think, we can jump on a call, a bit of a discovery call first to see where we might be able to help. And then I got a very structured process in terms of taking people through a process to understand whether I could even help them, whether I'm the right fit to help them. And if I'm not, direct them in the right direction. If I am, take that conversation further.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, Peter. Well, thanks for coming. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Top Dog Tips, No BS Expert Business Advice. Please like, comment, and share. If you like it, subscribe. Tell your friends. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. Okay, so that sign off. Thanks, Peter. Talk to you later.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Greg.